Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another video on the Social Studies with channel. For today's video, we are going to be looking at part 2 of the January 2020 paper 2 for Social Studies. All right. So I'm just going to bring out the paper now on the screen so that you guys can see it. Very good. So we are looking at question 5, which is communication. This is the option section. So in this section, you'll be given 3 choices and you choose one from the 3. So it is communication, consumer affairs, and tourism. I always encourage my students to select tourism because tourism is usually the easiest one. All right, great. So let's look now. Communication, it says the mass media hindrance or gateway to regional cooperation. Write an essay on the topic above. In your essay, define the term mass media and state 2 forms of media that are used in the Caribbean. Then explain 2 ways in which the mass media may support regional integration. For one of the forms of mass media you stated above, suggest 3 ways in which that form of mass media can help to preserve the culture of the Caribbean. Explain why each of the 3 ways you suggested is likely to be successful, and that's for 20 marks. Writing essays for social studies is different from writing essays in any other discipline, especially English language. You don't need an introductory paragraph or a concluding paragraph. You don't need a thesis statement. For social studies, you answer only what you are asked, right? So answer each part of the question in a new paragraph. You don't have to skip any lines, just indent for each of your answers. Great. So it says, first part of the question says, in your essay, define the term mass media. Simple. Mass media is technology that is intended to reach a large audience. That is what mass media is. Technology that is intended to reach a large audience, right? 2 forms of mass media. You have newspapers, you have TV, radio, internet, magazines, several that you can select from. Then explain 2 ways in which the mass media may support regional integration. How do you think the mass media can support regional integration? I want you to think about it with the understanding that you know or you have some idea of what regional integration is. How do you think the mass media can help with regional integration? Sorry. All right. So 1, radio and television stations are able to transmit programs beyond country boundaries. Thus, they have the ability to provide regional links and discussions. So that is one way. Another way is that the mass media can spread info about desirability of promoting Caribbean culture and about the aims and benefits of regional integration. So that is also a good one. Next part of the question now says, for one of the forms of mass media you stated above, suggest 3 ways in which that form of mass media can help to preserve the culture of the Caribbean. Then you are to explain why each of the 3 ways you suggested is likely to be successful. If you are not careful, you might lose all the marks here because it says that for one of the forms of mass media, so you must identify which form of mass media you're using, whether it's the internet, whether it's TV, radio, magazines, or newspaper. You must say which one of the mass media that you're using, right? Then you suggest 3 ways in which the form of mass media may help to preserve Caribbean culture. So you're going to say, if we use TV, how can this help to preserve Caribbean culture? Then also, you are going to explain why each way that you give is likely to be successful. So if you're selecting, say, newspaper, you say newspaper will, preserve Caribbean culture in this way. Then now you say, if TV is used to preserve Caribbean culture in this way, it is going to be successful because X, Y, Z. So that's also, give you 3 ways, then justify each of your ways. Are we following, ladies and gentlemen? All right. So how they can preserve Caribbean culture, right? I'm going to select TV as my form of mass media. So they can broadcast local TV shows using the local dialect. We know that language plays a big part of any culture, right? And many times the official language of the country is not spoken by everybody in the country. For example, in Jamaica, our national language is English language, but we have a dialect that we call Patois. So in Jamaica, they can broadcast local TV shows where the actors and actresses speak in Patois. This is going to be successful because it is going to preserve a part of our culture, which is language, and then a large part of the population, if not all of the population, is still able to understand because it is a local dialect. So that's how we can preserve culture using mass media, specifically the TV. So I gave my way and I said why it is going to be successful. More people are going to be drawn to watching those local programs because they are seeing a part of their culture being expressed, being loved, being put out there so that people can embrace it. All right. Another thing or another way, they can have panel discussions on TV on the importance of Caribbean culture. This is going to be important because people get a chance to express themselves. Many persons in academia can be a part of this panel, and also locals as well, right? And a lot of knowledge can be given to people so people can also recognize the importance of Caribbean culture and see the need for it to be preserved, right? Another way is they can feature local cultural groups, right? Because you know that local cultural groups tend to preserve the real raw culture, the singing and the dancing. For example, in Jamaica with Kumina, right? There's a lot of singing and dancing involved. That is not widely practiced in Jamaica like before. It's kind of sort of in pockets of Jamaica, especially like in St. Thomas. It is predominantly concentrated in St. Thomas in Jamaica, right? But if TV stations begin, local TV stations begin to show or broadcast this, then more persons might be open to embracing Kumina and not seeing it as a religion of devils, right? Very good. So we would have been finished with communication. So you'd have secured your 20 marks right there for communication. So next question we are going to look at now is consumer affairs. Let me just adjust that quickly. So it says, as an advanced consumers, know your rights. As an advocate for consumers, you are asked to address a meeting of a citizens association on the topic above. In your address, identify 2 categories of consumers and state 2 of the rights of a consumer. Explain 2 ways in which consumers can protect themselves from exploitation. Suggest 3 ways in which a consumer protection agency can assist consumers in knowing their rights. Explain why each of the 3 ways you suggested is likely to be successful, and that's for 20 marks. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we answer only what we are asked. Okay? All right. So the first part of the question now says, in your address, identify 2 categories of consumers. Categories of consumers include individual, group, business, or an organization. So you pick 2 from that list of 4, right? Then now we need 2 rights of a consumer. So a consumer has the right to safety and protection from hazardous goods and services. Consumer also has the right to be informed and protected from fraudulent, deceitful, and misleading information. So the consumer has a right to be protected. Good. So it also says that explain 2 ways in which consumers can protect themselves from exploitation. How do you think? Think of yourself as being a consumer. What do you think you can do to protect yourself from exploitation? I want you to think about that and then come up with an answer as to what do you think you can do to protect yourself from exploitation. What do you think? What do you think you can do to protect yourself from exploitation? Think about you being a consumer and tell me what you think you can do to protect yourself from exploitation. What do you think you can do? All right, good. That sounds good too. So those are practical things that you can do. I'm going to share some of the things that I came up with that we can actually do as consumers to protect themselves, right? So in order for a consumer to protect him or herself, that consumer must be aware of appropriate prices for goods and services so that when you go somewhere to purchase, you have an idea of the price range for the goods and services. For example, you want to buy a soft drink. You must have an idea of the range of prices for that soft drink. So if you know that the range is between $20 and $25, you should not purchase it somewhere for $100 because that would be gross exploitation, right? But then you need to be informed in order to protect yourself. Good. Another way is to check items thoroughly before and after you purchase, because sometimes items might be defective, they might be torn, they might be infested, they might be no longer good, meaning they are expired. So you must check that before and after purchase. Some people, like some business places, have signs in place that you must read because some of them says once you leave, they are not responsible after you leave. Pay attention to when items are banded together or when items are on sale, because not all business people are fair. Sometimes they look to exploit consumers. Sometimes they can be misleading. Sometimes they can be deceitful and practicing fraudulent practices. So as a consumer, you must be informed and check your goods thoroughly, right? Next part of the question now says, suggest 3 ways in which a consumer protection agency can assist customers in knowing their rights. Consumer protection agencies are usually set up by the government, right? So how can they assist consumers in knowing their rights? You also need to explain each of the 3 ways suggested and say why they are likely to be successful. All right, so consumer agencies, they can have town halls explaining consumer rights. This is going to be successful because they can reach a larger audience, and then audience members can ask questions to get clarity on things that they might not understand, right? So that is why it is going to be successful, because the audience and the wider communities, whether it's on TV, radio, will also be informed as well, right? They can create flyers and billboards promoting the rights of consumers. It is going to be successful because it is going to reach a large audience where more people can be informed, and those who are already informed can be reminded, and the rights can be reinforced in their minds so they are always aware of their rights so that they can protect themselves as well. Good. Consumer Protection Agency can publish newspaper articles, reach a wide audience as well, because more people will be able to read the information and become aware of their rights or be reminded of their rights as consumers. Following? All right. Next question. So we're on to the next question. So we're going through these with flying colors, right? Next part of the next question, sorry, the final question on the exam paper is on tourism. I usually encourage my students to do tourism because the tourism is usually the easiest question. You don't have to know a lot of information about tourism in order to answer this. It is pretty easy. All right, write an essay on the topic above. Begin your essay by defining the term tourism and stating 1 reason why the tourist industry is important to most Caribbean countries. Describe 2 challenges facing the tourism industry in the region, which makes some people consider it to be a fragile industry. Suggest 3 ways by which a country could create a stronger linkage between the tourist industry and the agricultural sector. Explain why each of the 3 ways you suggested is likely to be successful. Again, answer only what you are asked. Good. Begin by defining the term tourism. Good. So tourism is the movement of people from their usual place of abode to another destination for reasons other than work, usually for more than 24 hours, but less than a year, right? So that is what tourism is. You can also come up with your own definition from tourism, whether it is Google or your textbook, or you can create your own definition. By reading information upon tourism, you can create your own definition as well. All right, so now we are going to state 1 reason why the tourism industry is important to most Caribbean countries. Tourism is important to most Caribbean countries because it is a big foreign exchange earner. And we know that foreign exchange is important to developing Caribbean countries, right? Another reason why tourism is important to Caribbean countries is because it provides a lot of jobs. A lot of jobs. So a lot of persons are employed within the tourism industry because we know and understand that the tourism industry is a very large industry, right? And tourism creates linkages with other industries as well. For example, tourism links with agriculture, with transportation, with manufacturing, with construction, with food and beverage. So it creates a lot of employment and it generates income. Right. Next part of the question now says, describe 2 challenges faced in the tourism industry in the region, which makes some people consider it to be a fragile industry. One of the big challenge to tourism now, and this should be easy if this question ever comes back, it is the COVID-19 pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused a lot of restriction in travel, in air and sea travel, and also with the tourism industry. And it has caused a lot of people not to travel. So the tourism industry has suffered a lot because of that. A lot of the businesses in the industry are losing revenue continuously because a lot of places are shut down or they have scaled back operations significantly. Good. Another reason that some persons might believe that the tourism industry is fragile is because it is susceptible to natural disasters, right? Because the Caribbean is situated in a disaster zone. We are open to earthquakes, hurricanes, volcanic eruptions, tsunami. So, and we know that we have a hurricane season, right? For a lot of the Caribbean countries from June 1st to November 30th. During that time, we experience heavy rainfalls, May, June, and October. And throughout the hurricane season period, a lot of storms, tropical depression, tropical wave, hurricanes have developed, and some countries have been affected either directly by the hurricanes or indirectly by the outer bands or tropical storms, and so on and so forth. And we know when that happens, then the tourism industry is significantly impacted. Right? Next part of the question now says, suggest 3 ways by which a country could create a stronger linkage between the tourist industry and the agricultural sector. So we need to think out, or we need to hash out what the government could do to create a stronger link between the tourism industry and the agricultural sector. It's what the country could do, the government specifically. Good, how they could create a stronger linkage between tourism and agriculture. Then you're going to justify the way, right? You're going to say why it is going to be successful. Good, they could supply, sorry, I lost my train of thought a while ago. The government, right, could encourage the tourism sector, right? Specifically hotels and restaurants, right, to create a theme night for local dishes. This will ensure that local producers will have a consistent market for their produce to sell in. This is going to be successful because when foreigners come, they are open to local culture, and I'm sure they will enjoy local dishes. So the hotel will have repeat customers. They will have new customers because when those tourists leave and go elsewhere, and they will tell them about the Jamaican night or the Trinidadian night or the Guyanese night or the Belizean night at a particular hotel in that particular country, then persons would want to say, I would want to experience that food, because a lot of the tourists come and they stay in the resilient corridors, right? And they don't venture outside of the 5-star hotels or the 4-star hotels. So when they can stay there in the resilient corridor and get a taste of local dishes, that's local culture, they are going to enjoy it, man. So it is going to be successful. Hotel will make money, the farmers will make money as well. Right? The farmers now should get some subsidy from the government so they can maintain production of local produce, because that is one of the problems with local farmers or local persons in the agricultural sector. Consistency is lacking. And then sometimes it's very expensive to maintain that sort of yield in agriculture. So the government can provide some sort of subsidy for them so that they can be consistent in their producing. If they are consistent, then they are almost guaranteed the market and they can make money. So the more they produce, the more money they are going to make, right? The government too can help farmers to increase production as well by reducing import cost or substitute cost, right? When I'm speaking about import for the persons in the agricultural sector, I am talking about equipment and probably fertilizer, right? Government can reduce or substitute those costs so it will be cheaper for the farmer to bring those things in so that they can produce more and end up make more money. If the farmers produce more, right, it's not just the farmers alone who make money, but the government makes money by direct and indirect taxation. Good. The agricultural sector too, with the help of the government, can organize agricultural tours for tourists, because we know that tourists are having new taste, right? They are desiring new kinds of things. So this could be a new thing. This could be a new niche market for tourism, agricultural tours. We see the Apitan Rum Estate is a big income earner and very popular. So we can have agricultural tours where people see how certain plants are planted, how they are reaped, right? How they look when they're growing, right? Or when the fruit tree is bearing, or how they actually process things, right? Because I know that with sugarcane, there's a machine that reaps the sugarcane instead of the sugar workers going in there like the cane piece of fire, burning off the leaves, getting rid of the snakes and the rats, and then cutting down the cane. People can actually see how the machine operates, right? Something like that. So some agriculture is going to be successful because it can become a niche market in tourism where persons come for their agricultural tour, not directly for the agricultural tour, but they come stay at a hotel and then that is a package deal or they pay for that extra to go there. So that's a new niche market, more employment, more income generation. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today's lesson on the January 2020 paper 2 for social studies. If you have any questions or concerns, please post them in the comment section down below. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Also, ladies and gentlemen, please go over to my other YouTube channel. That's Curry Fences on YouTube. Curry Fences, C-U-R-R-Y, then F-E-N-C-E-S. Go over there, subscribe, and watch the videos. I'm trying to get to 4,000 watch hours. I already have 1,500 subscribers. I just need the watch hours now. Thank you for your support, and I wish you all the best in your exams. Thank you. Goodbye.